friends of Gibraltar finally reunited after a 3-year hiatus. Former governors, members of the Gibraltar Group in Parliament, financial services professionals, all gathered in the magnificent surroundings of the Shangri-La restaurant on the 35th floor of the iconic Shard building, overlooking the panoramic landscape of the City of London. It was Halloween night, and although there were no jump scares this evening, the underlying tension of Gibraltar's uncertain future relationship with the EU hung in the air. The Armed Forces Minister, James Heappey, alluded to the anxiety over world events and the ROC's place in it all.
The reality is that good progress is being made on something that is very complex. But the thing that there can be no compromise on, and there will be no compromise on, and within the MOD we stand with you in making sure there is no compromise on it, is your sovereignty. Because the bases in Gibraltar are of huge strategic importance, not just to the United Kingdom, but to Europe as a whole. And in recent months, when Russian submarines have been doing what Russian submarines do, it's amazing how many times Gibraltar as an option for the positioning of maritime reconnaissance aircraft has come up. And it just goes to show how valuable Gibraltar is to the Western Mediterranean and the Mid-Atlantic, as Cyprus is to the Eastern Mediterranean.
For the Chief Minister, being back in London among friends was a significant development as Gibraltar lobbies its closest allies, as it continues to negotiate a treaty with the European Union.
Well, look, I tell you, I think this has been one of the most important Gibraltar days for a long time. It's been 3 years since we were able to do one, and we find ourselves really on the cusp, as I have said, of potentially being able to do a treaty between the European Union and the United Kingdom and our future relationship with the EU. And of course that means that we need to ensure that whether it's commercially in the morning during the course of our lunch at the Guildhall or in the evening politically, we are polishing the relationships that we have with the City of London, with Westminster and with both Houses of Parliament to ensure that people understand what it is that we are hoping to be able to do in this treaty and what we're not going to do and what we're never going to compromise on: our sovereignty, our jurisdiction and our control over our affairs. And it's important that both the City understands that from the business proposition point of view and that the Commons and the Lords understand that from the political point of view. And that's why this is such an important event in my view.
It's common for Gibraltar Day in London's diplomatic reception to be spoken to, briefed by a minister from the Foreign Office. In recent years it's been the Minister for Europe, but this year that hasn't happened, and there's a lot about this year's Gibraltar Day in London which hasn't been usual or common. Not least the fact that it hasn't happened in a few years because of the pandemic. Now, the Minister for the Armed Forces was jovial, he was engaging. But there's one thing I take away from it above all. He said that despite all the complexities of the negotiations for an EU treaty, despite all the difficulties, there's one thing that remains constant, and that's the UK's armed forces' long-standing relationship with Gibraltar, and that's going to keep on happening no matter what. Jonathan Sacramento, GBC News, from the Shard in London.